Congratulations on your purchase of an unmanned aircraft. I'm sure you're dying to fly it, but before you do, please be aware of a few rules. You are legally responsible for the safe conduct of each flight, and failure to follow the rules could lead to criminal prosecution. Check your aircraft for damage before each flight to make sure that everything is working in accordance with the supplier's user manual. When flying, you must keep the aircraft within your sight at all times. You are responsible for avoiding collisions with other people or objects, including aircraft. Do not fly your unmanned aircraft in a way that could endanger people or property. It is illegal to fly your unmanned aircraft over a congested area, such as streets, towns and cities. Also, stay well clear of airports and airfields. Don't fly your unmanned aircraft within 50 meters of a person, vehicle, building or structure, or overhead groups of people at any height. Think about what you do with any images you obtain, as you may breach privacy laws. Details on that are available from the Information Commissioner's Office at ico.org.uk. If you intend to use an unmanned aircraft for any kind of commercial activity, you must get what is called a permission from the CAA, or you could face prosecution. For details, please visit www.caa.co.uk/UAS. So that's it. Fly safe and have fun with your amazing unmanned aircraft.
We'll be talking about that one a little bit more with Simon when he gets on stage. Just checking he's here. Yeah, he's looking busy. Should have some audio with that one, Matt. Perhaps
Team
not.
testing their newest drone.
There we go.
International Drone Day is just a month away, and to celebrate it, Long Hill School will host a miniature airshow on the 14th of March. Drones are being used increasingly to film extreme sports, aerial footage and unsuspecting journalists. As I filmed the drone, it filmed us in just as high a quality. But how?
This is a 4K gyro-stabilised camera, so that stays completely stable when it's flying. It uses accelerometers and gyroscopes, just like your mobile phone does, to keep level. It can fly for about 22 minutes and records to a micro SD card.
The airshow in March will allow people to learn about some of the responsibilities that come with flying a drone. Whilst they look like a lot of fun, they certainly aren't toys.
We're also going to be having a have-a-go area, so people will actually be able to have a go with some small quadcopters themselves. During the day, we're going to be doing some public display flying to be headlined by Sussex Police, the Gateway Runway Protection Officers coming down to talk about their drone use, and their vendors going to be displaying how they use drones for thermal imaging and so on and so forth.
Beacon Hub Brighton are the event's charity of choice. They are hoping to raise money at the airshow to fund the building of a classroom on Beacon Hill to teach kids about conservation.
It's very relevant in as much as the drones are going to be showing how to fly safely and responsibly. A lot of people associate drones with military action. It's not the case in this instance. We actually were planning and hoping to have the drones shown on Beacon Hill, but out of respect for the nesting skylarks, we're showing it down here at the Dean's Leisure Centre.
So if you're interested in racing, learning or simply spectating, the miniature airshow is certainly not one to be missed. This is Mari Beveridge for latest TV News.
Okay, so that's all the videos I've got with sound. And hopefully Jim can accompany us with a little bit of music while we talk, just so that the sound of silence, as you all don't ask questions and don't clap and don't enthuse about the event, doesn't drown us out. And I'd like to say huge thanks to Mr. B, the gentleman rhymer, for adding music all day today. He's done a great job giving us that proper Fareham airshow feel. So why did I do this? I don't know. I threw my hat in the ring. I thought it was going to be me. I'm sure like most of you, thought it was going to be me, a couple of family members, this one looking rather bored, and maybe 5 or 10 other people. And then all 450 Eventbrite tickets went, and Fez and I started getting it. But I thought I'd just start off with a little bit about how I got into flying, and I blame the man in the corner who's been running the airfield all day, Danny M. Whee! Clown of applause to Danny. He's done a great job. He got me into gliding, made me build this thing earlier in the year, and I thought that was great. I still love flying it. Then I added a camera, and I love my video stuff. And that was where I started to discover that you guys have all had cameras on your quads for years, and I thought that was really interesting. So this was actually me flying my camera for the first time over in Mill Hill. I don't know if you're local, but this is one of the good gliding spots overlooking Shoreham Airport, which has always been interesting. But yeah, you can watch some of my entertaining flying. So I'm going to ask Danny to come and join me up in a minute, up here to talk as well. I then started following That Drone Show, which I don't know if any of you followed That Drone Show, but it's a podcast. A few show of hands here. Yeah, there's a few of you. No, go and check it out. They're the guys who then came up with the idea of International Drone Day. And when they threw that idea together, like me, they thought that it was going to be half a dozen people and a few board family members. Little did we know. They've had 45,000 people turn up at their events worldwide over the last 24 hours, which is going some. We're probably one of the larger events. We've had around, we estimate somewhere between 350 and 400 turn up over the course of today. Anyone else wants to give me bigger estimates? I'm looking at the people who might be good at crowd estimation at the back there, but anyone else who wants to give us different estimates, then feel free. But that's the sort of number I'm going to be using in the next few hours. When we were looking for a place to fly, like you all, I'm sure it was a bit of a struggle finding a place where we could go and fly. And some of the video I'll show in a minute from my own rough flying experiences is from the windmill, which is on the seafront, just about a mile south here. Beautiful nature reserve, and that we really had our eyes on. We thought you guys would like to film the windmill. We thought the backdrop looking right along the coastline would be fantastic. But on asking the people who are kind of representative of the community that oversees that area, both Libby and Boyd and some of the other team I think are still loitering around from the Beacon Hub. Libby, come out and have a chat with me. Basically, we had a chat about it, and there are nesting skylarks up there. There's at the moment there's some sheep grazing up there and things, and we knew that was going to happen. So we went and had a meeting with these guys, and well, do you want to tell us a little bit about Beacon Hub first of all, and then we'll talk about flying up there?
Really well, this echo, so I apologise. Beacon Hub started 2 years ago from beach cleaning that I run as well, and we spotted this bit of land and we didn't want it built on, so we've set up this charity to have a fantastic environmental classroom, and we're getting there. We've got the lease, we've got planning, and now we need about £140,000. So if anyone's got any coppers. I do have to say, we have raised £580 today. So a huge thank you, a massive thank you from all of us here at Beacon Hub.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
Yeah.
Cool. So maybe I'll grab the other one. So it's probably better. Is it really doing your head in, the mics? Okay. If we can shut the front of house sound down but leave it going out on the webcast, that's probably the best idea. Can we do that? Can you shut the front of house sound down and we'll just run with what's going out to the webcast? Okay, maybe could you just turn the volume down on the front of house? Up on the Denon. That would do the job. Matt will do it while we're talking. Sorry it's confusing, but we're trying to get this out to people on the net as well, and that will introduce some confusion today. Anyway, so I went to have a chat with these guys about doing our event up at the windmill. That's going to make more sense, isn't it? Oh, everyone just lit up there. Yay. Cool. So I went to have a chat. Well, we've got to remember to talk into this, people who come up on stage, because it's got to go out live. But we went to have a chat with Libby and the Beacon Hub crew about flying up there, and there were some reservations about it and so on. We realised we could have pushed back on that. We could have gone and seen if we could get a licence to fly up there, but quite honestly, that was just going to cause friction. And so actually, a much better strategy was to turn around and work with Libby to adopt Beacon Hub as our charity of choice. We hopefully think that typifies what International Drone Day is all about. It's about taking some decisions to go, okay, can't fly there, but how can we convert those people into thinking that flying's a good thing? And actually, I think we've converted quite a few people.
I should have bought a raffle ticket.
Yeah. I think there were more than a few people who, in the Beacon Hub community, who would have previously seen International Drone Day and probably chained themselves to the railings. Yeah. And actually, they're now. We've had a few conversations with that community. We've got some tree felling going on in the local area and so on. We've had conversations today about whether we can get some of you guys with Inspires or with other types of drones to come and fly and take some aerial footage to help the process of resisting some of the planning process and so on that's going on. So even on a very local level, this event's had a really good impact.
And we definitely recognise how drones support nature, in a photography way, and you put something up the other day about, you know, how drones are watching these great big reserves, and it may get to a time where we need our reserves protected, and drones hopefully will play a part in that.
So once again, guys, big thanks to Beacon Hub. They provided all the stewarding and help today, and they've been an invaluable part of the process. And of course, thank you to all of you for donating. It's been brilliant. Thank you, Libby. You can go home and have a rest now. She's been up since early. She knocked on my door at 7:30 with her little puppy going, "Are we all set?" So anyway, right, looking back at the video, I don't know if Gareth's here. Not that Gareth, the Gareth who shot this. But anyway, Gareth who shot this, it's a fantastic bit of local video. I rang him and I said, "I'm going to show some video, but I'm not entirely convinced that that's within regs, because that looks a bit close to me." Yeah. And he said, no, it's fine. I've already had a ticking off by the CAA, but they said you could leave the video up. So here we go. I'm not quite sure where we are there. So anyway, that's all good. So and immediately after this video, we're also going to have, there's a video of Gareth's from Bodiam Castle, which I think is great and brings up the whole topic of aerial photography and aerial video. And as you can see, these videos are so much better than my own videos were earlier, and they're all stabilised. I feel like I was preparing some of this talk to talk to people who didn't know about quadcopters. And given how many people flew earlier, I'm preaching to the converted here, so I think we'll just leave this running a little bit. There's another group who are absolutely critical and a bit unsung because they're not here. There's a sponsor called Space City Drones, and Space City Drones were the first sponsors who I met through the International Drone Day group, and they jumped up and they said, "We're going to give you a dozen drones, a dozen little nano quadcopters, and see if you can run a have a go area." And it was hard work. So Lee and Boyd, who's just still sitting up behind here, they had a difficult time trying to charge a little nanocopters and get them back out into the kids' hands. We may not include that event next year, but it was a great thing to try. It caused a bit of stress. Yeah. And they also made great raffle prizes, which helped us raise a load of money. So big shout out to Space City Drones. And with those guys on board, I'm sort of trying to tell you the story of how we got here today. With those guys on board, I then wanted to try and find some act or some central piece of content which would bring people here today. And I knew that Dawn from Sussex Police had been taking part in doing some PR work and so on for the work that they do with quadcopters. And I thought, if we can win those guys, when so many people are having problem with regulation in so many other events, that's a massive flagship. So I'd really like to thank both Nick and Dawn for turning up today, for bringing their quads. I'm sure nobody noticed that you'd borrowed them from the department. And again, in a minute or two, I'm going to bring them up on stage to see if we've got any questions to talk about the legality and the safe flying and so on. Then there's the Dean's Leisure Centre. I don't think we need to say a lot more. You've seen the complex. It gave us some flexibility. They've got a great field outside. They love the fact that we can scare off the pigeons and seagulls because they call it they're a pain for them. And they are welcoming us to come and fly here. So there's a lot more dialogue. And I know Fez has been engaging in some of that, and there'll be more on that. So I don't think this will be the only meet we ever do here. I think this is Steve's video because I just saw him grinning. Yeah, so big shout out to Steve for turning up today and spontaneously flying over the heads of the break dancers. And I think you got some nerve doing that. Then that was great. Right. So we then move on to one of our key sponsors, our host sponsor, First Person View. I'm sure you've all heard the term First Person View. I probably don't need to explain what it is, what First Person View is as a topic and so on. But obviously, Fez and Simon and Mark, you've been absolutely instrumental in making this happen. It wouldn't have even been conceivable without their input, their support, and actually largely the running of things that I could never have done. I could never have run that airfield because I don't know the jargon. I'm a relatively new flyer. So again, a massive round of applause for Simon and Fez and Mark. And Mark, somebody needs to write a piece of software to make Mark's life easy because the logistics he did on the airfield were mind-blowing. I'm stunned by that. I think that was great. So let's ask Simon. Simon, could I ask you, where are you, Simon? Have you lurked off? He's gone. Okay. Well, Mark, you can come up instead then. Come on, Mark. You know about flying. And Dawn, can I ask you to come up and join us up here? I think there's a lot of grey area about some of the regulatory space and so on. These guys seem to know their stuff. Mark's been landed in it. If Simon comes, you can swap with him. How's that for a deal? So Mark in particular, I think another round of applause for him, because his work on the airfield was absolutely splendid. So, without mentioning anything about our event, Dawn, safe flying. Yeah, let's not cover any topics here. It was hard enough to even find a blueprint or a template for safe flying. We borrowed the BMFAs today, but obviously FPV UK have been hugely supportive in both providing the insurance cover and the input, and I'm sure many of you are now FPV UK members. I think it's great. But there's still quite a lot of confusion and doubt. Can I just ask, with your day job hat on, what are the kind of key considerations that are coming to mind with this explosion of people buying quadcopters and so on? What are you being instructed to do from the core of your operations centres and so on, and what are you looking out for when you're being told people are flying, we need your input?
The main overriding message is safety. We work very closely with the CAA, and actually the video that we've seen today, the cartoon video, we've started to push out there not only to educate other officers, because they might not necessarily know the legislation, but also users that get in touch with us to ask how the legislation is governed. So really the CAA, they don't want to stop people from flying. They understand that it's a huge market for it, and their main message is safety. And then above that, or aside to that, is the privacy concerns. People see these, you can't necessarily see which way the camera's facing, and it is that bikini shot. People don't know that you can't necessarily see them. So it's about educating people about the limitations of the kit, and also to let those people out there know how to use those within the realms of what's acceptable, not only legally but morally as well.
So, you guys obviously the Gatwick runway protection team, the big scare stories and so on, these are, I think, fairly real concerns. I think if I'm pragmatic, I think we'd be blinkered to think that they weren't. There are now some posts coming out saying, okay, you can fly your average quad into a jet engine, and really it's not going to make much difference. But I'm pretty sure that none of us want to be on that plane when it takes off. But with regard to Gatwick and so on, how are you using quadcopters, the one you flew today? How are you using them? How are you putting it to use for policing and so on?
Well, it all started about 3 years ago. We started to research a concept about how it can assist our day-to-day policing of the flight paths. So we don't actually fly it right up against the perimeter fence for starters. We cover an area sort of about 15 miles either side of the runway. And it was about how to make our job faster and more efficient. And easily this bit of kit does that. Prior to even buying anything, we spoke to the air traffic control about how we could integrate ourselves safely with the airspace around the airport. And actually for us, the day-to-day operation of it, because we're in the controlled area of Gatwick, makes it a huge amount easier, because we know exactly what's going to be in the air and where it's going to be, because it's very prescribed. And short of any helicopter traffic that comes in, they have a very routine flight path. So it's safer for us to actually operate there, but we did have to engage with them for over a year prior to getting the permission, and we notify them if we're in a certain area. And it was the same with the CAA, because there is this natural kind of adversity to not wanting to operate that close, and we will take into account everything from the way they're departing to the weather. So if they're inbound over an area that we want to fly, we'll wait until they're outbound. So we have to, the usual safety considerations. But what was really nice is that the manufacturers are getting on board with the no-fly zones. So while we're concerned about the safety around the airport of hostile users, for the most part, the manufacturers are getting on board with making it sort of safe by design for us. But it's an integral part of our daily policing now.
So some of the forums that I've been on have been looking at the geofencing technologies, and I know that First Person View have been pushing that hard, the new DJI capabilities and so on. As a flyer, as a bit of a hacker, you kind of think, well, yeah, it's kind of like asking ISIS to go down to the post office and buy a license. It's kind of a bit the wrong way around. But at the same time, I think my own opinion is I think the CIA and the UK police are taking a more pragmatic and constructive approach. I think it's hard to filter through the media. The FAA, I think the people stateside seem to be having a much more complicated challenge over there. So I'm going to switch over to Mark at that point. So with the DJI stuff that First Person View are supporting bringing to market, the geofencing capabilities and so on, is that a real practical Is it really practically a solution? Is it there to just stop the accidental flyaways across flight paths and so on? Or is this just is this something to just play with to try to get the FAA a bit more on side? CAA. Okay, no, but stateside, which is a very big market from DJI's point of view. I just thought you might be more comfortable. Okay, I thought you might be more comfortable doing that.
No, it's a great use of the technology. I don't think any of us expected anybody. Well, we don't even know if anybody truly did fly close to the airports. But the idea that anybody was going to be that silly, I don't think had really crossed our minds. And the geofencing is a great way of preventing that sort of silliness. Maybe what not everybody will know that the original A airfields and B airfields, that list is going to expand, and we're currently working with the CAA on the other zones that will be geofenced, like the Royal Parks. I believe some of those drone flying's now been banned in the Royal Parks, and there'll be other things will come along. And as you say, there's the media sort of putting a spin on things, and there's the House of Lords who've just compiled their marvellous report. I spent a wonderful morning last week at the House of Lords listening to people who've never seen a drone, who've spent several months putting together a very large document which will go to the House of Commons, and out of that may come more laws. And so there's a bit of I think it's getting our safeguards in now. The more responsible we look, the better that will play out.
Can I just throw a quick straw poll to the audience? I know probably you guys are more racing and so on, but of those of you out there who haven't got GPS and haven't got any type of capability like that in your flight controllers and so on, is there anyone who'd opt into that if that was, or anyone who just wouldn't care if it was built in? Flying outside the field here, which is my regular flying spot, doesn't bother me, and if it means that I won't get a flyaway, it doesn't really bother me if that's put in. I don't have an objection to it. Is there anyone here who would opt in to having geofencing into their flight controllers, just as a straw poll?
The problem with your question, though, is why would you put geofencing into a racing quad? And this was what was going on at the House of Commons. They were talking about 150-kilogram drones. They were talking about 737 or 747s that will do cargo across the Atlantic with no pilot. Now, sure, what you're going to build into that in the way of safeguards, I think we'd all want some pretty serious safeguards in that. But then you get down to the 15, 20-kilogram commercial drones, and the guys there are all saying, we want certificated ESCs and stuff. And maybe you do, because if you're working in Regent Square with hundreds of people around, you want a level of built-in safety and comfort, in the confidence in the stuff. But if you're flying a Hubsan in your back garden, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work, or it doesn't matter if a motor prop falls off, because it's not going to do. So it's the reassuring thing from the House of Lords was excuse myself because I can't remember, Baroness, forgotten her name, but anyway, she'd certainly got that in her head that this has got to be proportional, and as long as that's how it plays out, that the big guys have a lot of airworthiness, and actually, even amongst ourselves, if you've got a 2-kilogram quad and it's got a GPS and that, maybe it should have the geofencing. If you're down in the drone racing or the back garden stuff, it doesn't need any assistance. It's not going to go far, it's not going to do any damage, and it's really proportional to how much risk is associated with that thing, and what damage is a Hubsan going to do to somebody.
So coming back to the title of today, I wonder how much of the issue is this term drone. I think when International Drone Day was put up, I called this event Miniature Airshow because I didn't want to have to ask Dawn to come and cut loads and loads of people free from the fences. And I don't like the word, if I'm really honest. I think it's a misappropriation of a term put onto multi-rotors, put onto quadcopters, If I could push back on it, I would. I try to avoid using it. It's been a very strange conflict with International Drone Day, with that hat on. And I've had long discussions with both David and Sarah, who are behind that drone show, about it. Their view is take hold of the words, make it theirs, change it. It's a big discussion, but
you can't push back. We've spent 6 years where the D word would never get spoken. You know, it was avoid the D word, and you're holding back the tide. And in fact, the tide's in. You know, so I like that concept that no, it's our term, and it means recreational fun vehicles. You know,
flood the market with our better use of the term. Yeah, cool. Guys, are there any questions you'd like to ask these guys from the floor? Is there anything or maybe you just want to throw in and out? You're looking tired. You've been out in the fresh air all day flying. Okay, well look, we're hopefully going to queue up some Skype calls in a minute. Jim, can you just play a couple of tunes while I get Michael to the desk to get us logged in? And yeah, Dawn's going to dance, she says. So, right, just watch a couple of videos while I get the next thing. And a round of applause for both Mark and for Dawn. Thanks. Okay, there's been rather a lot to organise today, so as you can see, we're still improvising here. We're still improvising. The gentleman, Richard, who won first prize, has obviously got a thing about moving very quickly because he's gone already, which is a real shame. So he's forfeited the bottle of Prosecco, although we will send him his Nerdy Cam 3D in due course. So I'd like a round of applause for the runner-up. And I reckon if there wasn't a penalty involved, it would have been questionable. I'm not sure I'd have been put in. But from Immersion RC, Anthony. Bobby. Thank you very much. You have fun today?
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, excellent.
Organisation was great. The event was it was
entertaining, if
yeah,
nothing
it was entertaining. And with the wind that we had out there, I think it went very, very well.
It was all right. We got through it. Brilliant. You had some good time flying?
Oh yeah.
Met some good people?
Met some great people. It was good to see some of the names from the forums. It was
brilliant. And do you want to do a shameless plug for our Immersion RC as well?
Immersion RC. Great.
There we go. A shameless plug. Talk to this man. A round of applause for Anthony. Well done. Okay, we will send. And we also have to do a second, there's another NerdCam to give away for the best crowd pleaser. So I don't really know how to do that. It's quite a subjective one. I think we should really, I'm looking at Danny because he was on the airfield most of the day, maybe Mark, but if anyone's got some ideas, shout out. Nobody's going to be going, me. But best crowd pleaser, best thing you saw in the air today. The awesome stunt aeroplane. David. Should we have a little vote on it? David? Yeah. Oh, we got a challenger there. David? I'm going to let Danny choose. You're going to give it to David. Okay, Fess, you're going to make a note of that. David's got the other NerdCam. Okay? In absentia, David's got the what was he flying again? The extra 350. See Danny afterwards. He'll tell you where the other one goes. So, in absentia. Hey. And I don't know if you guys saw the indoor flying as well. There was some beautiful indoor flying today. It was slightly brief, but it was really good. So that was a good big shout to those guys. Not the fish. The fish were a disaster. The fish were a disaster. Right, have we got anyone on Skype yet, Michael? Can we have another minute or two of music while we're going to try and get one of the other teams or one or two of the other teams online live on Skype. It's a little bit. Please hold while we do the flight channeling. A little bit more music.
Live sunny, live sweet, 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 live sunny, live sweet. Dig that beat.
Let's get this going. I'm running out of energy. You all look like you could do with a sleep. I could do with a sleep. I'm just going to say a last final thank you to some of the sponsors, to Radio C, to Multi-Rotor Parts. Thank you very much, guys, for your sponsorship. To all the volunteers who've helped bring it all together, Matt, Michael, Mr. B. I'm sure I've forgotten loads of people. Let's call it a day. Thank you very much. See you later, guys.
We can get feed to